That was my mistake. Because that was my first dream project. I used the verse because in this water there is methane is there. Now the first time we have started in Nagpur Municipal Corporation in collaboration
check,
with the
check, ठीक है, check, 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 ठीक है.
methane from it. And then the CO2 and bio-CO2 from it. So the plan is we will run this 200%.
Mihir Shah, and ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. I realize that we advanced this workshop by half an hour, so we don't have full attendance as yet, but I'm sure in the next 10-15 minutes we'll have other participants joining us. And I would first like to ask Siddarth Ayangiri, who is the principal person running around managing this workshop, to honor our chief guest with flowers. I now request Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Director and Chief Executive of ICRIER, to say a few welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Ahluwalia. Shri Nitin Gadkari, Honorable Minister, Road Transport and Highways and Shipping, Government of India. Dr. Tushaar Ahluwalia, Chairperson, ICRIER. Dr. Mihir Shah, former Member, Planning Commission. Mr. Siddarthan Balasubramania, Country Head, Global Green Growth Institute. Distinguished speakers in the technical sessions that will follow, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ICRIER, I extend to all of you a very warm welcome to this national workshop on urban water systems in India, A Way Forward, being conducted by ICRIER and supported, as Dr. Tushaar Ahluwalia said, by the Global Green Growth Institute. It is a real pleasure to welcome the Honorable Minister Shri Nitin Gadkari to ICRIER. As some of you know, in 2009, Shri Gadkari was elevated to the post of BJP National President to become the youngest ever party president. He was architect of a rural road scheme now popularly known as the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, which according to many research studies has been, judging by its impacts, one of the most successful public investment projects undertaken recently. It reminds me of the insightful quote by the late American president, popularly known as JFK, I read on a framed poster next to the minister's desk when I visited him in his office 2 weeks ago, which states that America has good roads, not because it is rich, but it is rich because it has good roads. I am happy to state that ICRIER continues to create and disseminate knowledge that reflects such insights across a range of important areas such as urbanization, climate change, increased connectivity, job creation, skill development, and macroeconomic stability. In some of these areas, we have engaged with state governments, in some with local governments, and we also work in collaboration with many research institutions across the world. As you know, India's 100 Smart Cities initiative presents a very valuable opportunity to take many of the issues that affect and afflict us in urban areas, to create compact, coordinated, and connected cities. ICRIER is doing a good amount of research in this area. Compact urban development can significantly reduce the cost of additional infrastructure while enabling more intensive use of existing infrastructure in city cores. Public transportation, with which the minister is closely associated, is a key element of infrastructure investment required and can lead to reduced congestion, lower air pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions and avoided infrastructure costs. I'm happy to note that the minister just said he's, as they say in government, seized of these issues. Public transit can reduce toll on urban road accidents, which cost as much as 2% of GDP in cities in all developing countries. Better connected cities promote inclusive growth, as low-income residents in particular benefit from greater access to jobs and lower-cost transport. ICRIER is working in all of these areas, as I said, related to urbanization, to carefully collect evidence to facilitate more informed policy making, the rationale for our existence since 1981. For example, ICRIER has underlined the benefits of greater telecom connectivity and its GDP impact across a range of studies. The role played by logistics infrastructure and processes is a research question we address specifically in special economic zones and mega food parks. Besides, jobs is a cross-cutting theme in these and several other initiatives. ICRIER, as you will notice if you go to our website, has a very exciting agenda, research agenda over the next few years. Our chairperson, Dr. Ahluwalia, who has been deeply involved with ICRIER's research, urban research in an honorary capacity, will speak in detail about the motivation and significance of today's workshop on urban water systems. Let me once again welcome all of you to ICRIER and especially thank the Minister for coming despite his busy schedule. As you know, the Parliament session starts today, and his presence here in ICRIER underlines the importance he places on the topic of today's workshop. Thank you, sir. May I now request Siddarthan Balasubramania, head of GGGI India, to make his opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahluwalia, for the caution in advance. I thought the minister set a trend of coming half an hour early and we will be getting a few minutes extra, but exactly the other way around. Just say that it also indication of the government's, it's the fact the minister arrived much earlier, have a conversation. Some of the hard questions Dr. Ahluwalia asked in front of us, the way he responded, it's an indication of the government's proactive approach to change some of the things the way we've been doing, particularly in the urban context. So with those words, Honorable Minister, Dr. Ahluwalia, Dr. Mihir Shah, Rajat, Arunabha, other colleagues, Dr. Gossain, I join ICRIER on behalf of the Global Green Growth Institute and extend a very warm welcome for the important discussion. Today, I must also tell you at the outset, ICRIER and the Global Green Growth Institute came together at a very record time, probably in a month's time, to forge this partnership and agreed on this theme precisely not to miss a great opportunity which was impending of Dr. Mihir Shah leading the study. And we didn't want to miss the opportunity. We wrapped up the whole issue in probably in 25 days of whole thing, and the project got started going. It had an initial approach of how, given the complexity of urban water system, what are the key issues we need to find a solution, because the problems are well known. We don't need to make a case. The water is an issue in Delhi. It's not just about Delhi, of course. It, of course, in a pandemic across India, where large cities, the medium, tier 2, whatever you call it, including peri and urban areas, started having serious consequences of water crisis and water security issues. This is an attempt to find out what are the new knowledge and research needed to unpack some of the new aspects, urban groundwater in this aspect, who could lead to a kind of solution to the problem rather than dwelling deeper on the problem itself. I would also think, if I say that if we are discussing the urban water system in the most appropriate city in this country, Delhi, I'm sure we all would agree. The people living in the city, come summer months, the water scarcity and along with the electricity shortage are going to be the headline for the coming months. And we go through this phase year after year. We find a solution, but again overcome by another complex problems. So that's one aspect of why we started the project. The second aspect is also, it is not about some of the global trend are also a bit alarming. For example, pick an example of a country like Brazil, which is obviously endowed with a lot of resources. 70% of electricity come from hydro. It is obviously the iconic Amazon forest, covers 60% of the forest area. Several states declared water emergency in Brazil right now. And that is the case with the Brazil, which endowed with 12% of the fresh water. And imagine we have less than 1% of total water resources in the country as a whole. And that's the problem we are facing. Now, I want to tell you 3 points why the key principles.
Siddarthan, you know, any more that you speak, we'll have less of the minister because he has to leave. So you have 2 minutes, please. Yeah.
We're sticking with the 5 more minutes, within the 5 minutes. So the rationale for the projects are two. One, we think the approaching urban water system is as a holistic urban system issue, where not only just a demand supply as an issue, as Dr. Mihir Shah would unravel in his study. He went through the whole process on the scientific analysis of aquifers to the capacity building, a range of issues have been covered, number one. Number two, we also think in economic principles underlying some of the energy issues that also apply to water system as well. Because the costing is not about pricing of water itself. Decision makers may do things differently if economic principles are integrated into it, costing some of the inaction which is also not happening, including co-benefit approach. That's the second one. Third one also, I think the study comes out at the most appropriate time, like the minister said about the whole search for transportation. There are initiatives like Clean India Mission and the smart cities. We believe some of the approaches, Dr. Shah's findings, would feed into the government policy framework which is emerging. So those are three key things why we wanted to partner with ICRIER to commission this study. So I hope beyond, and what Dr. Shah is going to present is not just an outcome of a robust research and analysis, but input from a broader consultation, some critical review. He asked us and others to give input to the first draft. So you're going to hear some kind of refined version, which will also seek your inputs today, which will be refined further. With those words, I would like to thank ICRIER, Dr. Mihir Shah, and the Hon'ble Minister for your time. And I look forward to productive discussion, which will be useful to refine further and will feed into some of the emerging policy framework. Thank you very much. And I think I'm within the 5 minutes time frame, I think.
Thank you very much. The idea is just to get the maximum out of the minister, and I think Dr. Mihir Shah has actually passed up his opportunity to speak because he thinks we should hear the minister. I would just like to put a little bit about across on what we are doing at ICRIER on urbanization. Why we decided to start our work on urbanization and also climate change issues was because we felt that ICRIER is a mainstream organization looking at macro policy issues, and we need to think about urbanization and climate change in the overall mainstream context and not as special adjuncts after we have talked of planning and development and all. And it is for this reason that we ask ourselves the question that if we are striving for 8 to 9% growth of GDP per year, this growth is going to come from the non-agricultural sector. This is going to be actually taking place in our cities. Today, cities are our engines of growth. So not only do we have to make it easier for investors to invest in our cities, but we have to make these cities livable. We have to have ease of living. We have to have ease of mobility. And that I'm saying mobility with a big M, because Minister Gadkari, we are really looking forward to you bringing a revolution in improving connectivity, not only between cities or within cities, but also between cities and our villages, so that we can really harness the potential of our economy. And in addition to doing this, there are two aspects that we emphasize. One is, as we look at urbanization in the process of growth, we have to dig deeper into seeing how to improve service